You have a moderate speed rep. That would be like a 1.5 second raising and a 1.5 second lowering without the momentum. A slow motion rep, this time, is the 1 second raising, and this would be even an 8 to 12 second eccentric or lowering of the load. I would recommend a partner for this one, of course. Then you have stretch pause, which is you lower for the count of 3 seconds, then hold the stretch position for 1 second, then rapidly raise the concentric portion of the rep. Doing this for your calves is a great example. Then you have the stretch pump partial reps. At the end of the set, you move into the stretch position and perform 2 to 5, maybe even up to 10 partial repetitions only in the first third of the movement range. And then you have the partial stretch overload. So you use a stretch partial pump in the stretch position between every full rep. So basically, what I just said about the stretch in the first third of the movement, except you do the full movement, and then you go ahead and do a partial, and then the full movement, and you keep doing that. That would be the partial stretch overload. Then we have just the basic stretch overload. This would be just emphasizing the stretch portion of any exercise, basically just putting a little bit more load at that portion. Having a partner or using a machine is a very easy way to do this. The stretch, it's very important due to the mechanical disadvantage. That's the portion of the rep where the muscle is strongest and also produces the most force. Now, the first third portion of the movement is the stroke where the target muscle is elongated most and the deciding factor in the actual muscle fiber recruitment. So basically, how many fibers you're using will be decided with the starting of the lift of the weight. Your body's like, okay, we need this many, essentially. Then there's other styles of training. Now, these styles of training were basically popularized by Mike Mentzer. However, they're very effective, and if you adjust them just a little bit, you really should be incorporating these in your training just about every time you train if you're a more intermediate or advanced lifter. So you guys have heard me talk about these before, but I'm just going to get into them again briefly. The first one would be rest pause training. So to properly perform rest pause training, you must first warm up the targeted muscles thoroughly with a set of lightweight repetitions. So think sarcoplasm training. Then select a weight for the first repetition of the rest pause set. Now, the weight needs to be one that you are able to perform a maximum single attempt with proper form. So just one time you can do it. If you tried to do it a second time, you couldn't do it. This, of course, ensures maximum intensity and that the proper effort is generated on every single rep. After performing the first all-out rep, put the weight down, rest for a minimum, something like 8 to 15 seconds to allow the oxygen depth in your body to correct itself and allow the waste products to exit the muscle. This will allow for the second repetition to be another all-out maximum intensity rep. Now, to be performing this style of training, you will not necessarily need a training partner, but it's extremely helpful, as you might not quite be able to do the second rep without their assistance, and you don't want to be jerking your body around. So be sure that your partner's assistance is only enough to complete the second rep. After your second rep, put the load down, and again, rest for 8 to 15 seconds, and now you're going to be decreasing the weight by 10 to 20% depending. This should allow you to complete another deliberate and focused repetition, hopefully without your partner's assistance. Then repeat the previous steps with your partner's assistance for the fourth rep. Once again, rest, etc., 15 to 20 seconds as you will now be very fatigued. Attempt to do another rep with or without your partner's assistance, depending whether or not you lowered the weight and also depending whether or not you have a partner. If you have a partner, you're going to be repeating the previous steps with your partner, and again for your final rep. So again, not many reps here. We're shooting for 5, maybe 7 reps at the very most. This style of training is very demanding and is also incredibly intense, and you really will not be able to compare it to anything unless you actually do it yourself with somebody who understands how to properly perform rest pause training. I have videos on this, check them out, but only if you do it yourself will you be able to fully appreciate how difficult it actually is, as well as the level of focus, commitment, and dedication required to finish the set. It is critical that you understand that with rest pause training, each and every single rep of the set is an all-out maximum effort. And I would stress that for most people, one single set of rest pause training is sufficient per training session. This is provided, it is preceded by 1 or 2 warm-up sets with moderate intensity, of course.